Howdy, my friends. How's it going today? I gotta get back in my chair here and get comfy. I was going to make a video about a few different things. As usual, my mind is wandering once I actually get the camera out. I've been thinking a little bit about what motivates us to do anything in this world, and I'm trying to figure out exactly how to put it into language form. Some of these things are like metaphors in my head and ideas that I understand, but I can't quite vocalize. And, if we find the English language limiting, then that's for good reason. There's plenty of words, but some of the words don't do justice, and that's why new ones are always formed. I guess what I wanted to get across was the idea that how do we know that our ideas are really that important and that our causes are worthwhile? And what motivates us? And I guess what inspired me to make this was I was just sitting in there and I got out my computer and it was quiet. Everybody was taking a nap in the house. The kids were playing Minecraft, and I started typing away, and I was going to write like a little blog type paper. I do that quite often. It's been a while, but I've written short stories, and I wrote a book a couple of years ago about, just life and how I see it. And it's kind of like with the videos. As I start typing, it just kind of comes out what I have to say. And I ended up typing out a dialogue between two random people. And I only got into it for about 10 minutes, but after I realized, after a minute, what am I doing here? Why am I writing a dialogue between two people? And not even differentiating between the two people with the dialogue. In other words, I wasn't emphasizing one person or the other. It became irrelevant who was saying what. It was just a dialogue, and I had no picture in my head of who these people were, male or female, and which one was doing which language, which sentences. It was more of a debate of, how do you know, like, why do people act at all? And it was so weird. Maybe I'll post it later, but I had these strange little premises in it, like, well, religion, because people believe this and they believe that, because, they've been told to believe it, or because they know others that believe it. But it wasn't about religion at all. It was started out being about politics, and it was about and how we get into these echo chambers. And an echo chamber is used as a term to describe, say, certain blogs and groups. An echo chamber would be a person on Facebook who is a Trump supporter who blocks all their liberal friends and only talks with their Trump supporter friends. Or, on the other side, somebody who absolutely hates Trump, so they block everybody who's anti-Trump. And this is good to use this example because it's happened recently. There's been a lot of division over politics, and a person gets stuck in an echo chamber and starts believing that everyone thinks like they do. And when you're ignoring how other people think, then we get into trouble. And that's, as someone laid out, we were talking about politics and using the metaphor of left and right brain, and I was using the yin and yang, the idea that everything always seems to have a counter-argument against it, no matter what it is. Even the idea of freedom has a counter-argument that, well, some men are better off as slaves, or that we have a hierarchy that we follow just like primates, and that some people are always followers and some people are always leaders. And then we have people saying, no, everyone has equal freedom and everyone has the power to take, initiative for themselves. What we're starting to see, at least what I'm starting to see, in the modern days, that we really don't know our place and we don't know what to stand up for and what's the most important thing. And as long as people are saying, go get them, good job, people will keep doing things. And this is why it's really interesting to say, say if a person's, let's say a person's whole life is dedicated to preserving this one species of animal that's dying out, becoming extinct. In the 80s and 90s, this, the whole idea of, saving the wildlife, saving the earth was a big thing. And imagine if you're trying to save this species, but then you find out, after 20 years of trying to save this from the destruction by man, you find out that the species has been going extinct regularly for the last 10,000 years, that it's due to natural variations in atmospheric carbon dioxide, whatever reason it might be, something that you can't change, you can't help, and all of a sudden you find out that the whole cause that you've dedicated yourself to has just been a waste of time. Or, I'll give you another example. You're fighting really hard for a cause you think to be true in politics, and so you get into political science and you take classes and you become a major and you get a bachelor's degree, and the next thing you know you're getting a whole variety of degrees in politics, and then you find out that the belief system, the side, the group, the view that you held no longer works for you, and you abandon it altogether. And this happens with all different types of schooling. Another example is a person who is very religious, and then they find out that they don't believe their religion anymore, and they feel like they've been lied to. And so they've spent half of their life crusading for their religion, and they feel so let down that they spend the other half crusading against it, say as being a hardcore atheist. And I've seen this before with people who were religious and then, got exposed to information they found to be more accurate than what they'd been told before. And this goes both ways, and this isn't an argument against religion at all, because I know a lot of people who have been atheists all their life have taken on religion and felt like they've been wrong the whole time. And I'm using these examples to say that these are the people, when a person finds their new God, whether it be religious-wise or political-wise, they tend to push those views on other people, and then after a while everybody starts to kind of fit into their little categories. People want to be categorized, and people want to categorize each other. Something that's unfortunate. I need a vape break. I got on a roll and then I heard a noise outside my door and it threw me off. That happens quite often at my house. I don't have a very much of a privacy. I kind of have to hope that I have a few minutes to talk, but when I get into a groove I start talking and then I hear noise and it throws me off. That's why I started making videos in my car. I should probably go back out there and do that again. So I guess, in a sense, some of the things that, the big picture that I came to, and the whole point of this video is really that when you really break it down, you can be a nihilist if you want, like Nietzsche, and say, well, nothing really matters anyway. Why even fight for anything? Why not just get what you can in this life and enjoy it, and when you're dead, you're dead. And that's a very tough mentality to break for some people, and for me personally, I don't find it to be very valid because it doesn't work for everyone. But then a big question arises with people, well, who cares if it works for everyone, if it works for you? And then we get into emotions and values and what we deem to be right. In other words, I say, well, sure, I could go out and get what I want and say screw everyone, but I wouldn't feel right in my heart. It wouldn't feel right to me. I like people and I like being fair. And a person would say, well, why? Why are you concerned about being fair? Don't you want to give your family the best and enjoy your life the most? And how is somebody else's life that's not doing quite as well affecting you? It just does. And then I start asking myself the philosophical reasons for that. Is it because, I have guilt because others have less than me? Is it, as some people call it, the white guilt? And no, it's not that. Not guilt because I'm born as a white American, although it is easy to see that I'm grateful for what it's easy to be grateful, overlook what we should be grateful for, but I feel grateful for all the things I have. And that realize a lot of people don't have the same opportunity. For example, when you see somebody who comes here as an immigrant and they move here and they want to take on the American customs, they love the country, you see them interviewed and they're just like so enthralled to be here. And they work their ass off, say, 15, 16, 20 hours a day, working double jobs to come home and feed their kid, and they have a very modest little apartment, and they work their butt off, put tons of money into the system, and just love this country. And that's because they're comparing it to what they were used to, wherever they might have grown up. They're like ever so grateful, whereas people, who have been born into the American way of life, this is all we know. And it's not anybody's fault. It doesn't mean that Americans should be more grateful for what we have. Nor does it mean that, it doesn't mean anything. It just means whatever environment you were born into, as you move up the ladder of life, whatever that may be to you, and as you change, your mentality is going to change, your ideas are going to change, and you're going to find new things to be important. But ultimately, in the end, we sit back and ask the question, if we're all going to die, what does it matter? And that's where religion came in. That's why religion was such an important part. Man couldn't believe that, he could watch his family die around him, and that there was just no rhyme or reason for it. It makes no sense. It just doesn't suit mankind's natural tendency to want to believe that he's more important than he really is. And I'm not here to argue for or against beliefs, religion, afterlife, or anything, so I won't even go into that. I'm just trying to nail down the reasons why we find it's so important to do some things in this reality we inhabit, and how we deem things to be worthy of pursuing or not. Why we stand up for some people and not for others, and how it all comes down to what we're exposed to, what our attitude towards life and death are, and how much xenophobia we have in our hearts. I think exposing, for the same reason that I've always said that I wish more people had taken, very serious psychedelic journeys to find that depth, because you see new truths and connections. To me, it's the same way as traveling in your mind is literally the same as traveling around the world, in a way. Seeing other cultures, you start to understand things from a different point of view. Of course, I can't compare the two. I haven't traveled the world. I'd love to someday, but putting yourself in a mindset where you're constantly bombarded with the idea that we're all in the same boat here, Anyhow, that's my ramble for the day. I'll talk to you all later, and peace.